Today we're going to sleep on a movie. After watching it, I fell ill. I just know that the girl's record is still terrible. So I advise young men not to fall in love. Remember the direct marriage story from a girl named Lychee. He seemed to have just experienced something terrible. After making the call, he passed out. At first, I'm a little confused, but our correspondent has opened the door to the terrible case of citizens who went missing for 18 days last year. Finally only Lychee a person survived. So what's going on inside that trapped belly? In order to find out the truth, through the use of psychology, finally learn the truth from the Lychee mouth. Don't let Lizzie be a very common student in his school. But every girl is more or less attracted to someone else during puberty. She is no exception. She likes Mike to be the son of a rock star. Recently, Mike just broke up with his ex-girlfriend, so he thought he had a chance. But when it came to Lychee's, Martin said to think nothing of it. He has no chance of taking a fancy to you. I like you so much, you don't have to look at me before I come, and no, I don't have a chance, so it's very frustrating. If it's normal, Mike can't have a crush on chestnuts. Looks sad inspirational, Martin decided to help him organize by himself. Finally, I met Mike Lychee. And then there's Mike's best friend who has no power, and the prettiest one who won't let the four of them come to this hole that almost no one knows about. This hole is an escape hatch for the nearby weed, so how Martin got the key is unknown. This time they will spend 3 days in the cave. And these 3 days, Martin would help them hide it. School and home happen to be on school outings. So as long as it is properly concealed, they won't be seen on either side. The school thought there were several people at home, thinking that all the children were taking part in outdoor activities at school. At first 4 people came here, and very excited, singing and dancing. Think about what's going to happen in those 3 days. Mike and Frankie, they didn't bring when something was going to happen, with only Lychee inside, and a lot to eat at night. They still tell horror stories there, see who's the best. When it was time for nothing to happen, he said, if Marty hadn't come and opened the door, or have an accident, isn't it scary? Unexpectedly. He's talking about 3 days. Here, Martin didn't even said it. And got into a fight about it. After all, who encounters such a thing will certainly panic. But soon realized that this might be Martin's plot. Because Martin liked himself, and I like Mike. So to trap a few people here, it could only be jealousy. It's more in this dynamic. They found a lot of listening devices nearby. It was obvious that Martin could have made these things. Then almost everything they say is heard. Now that we know Martin's dose is something we can think of, have Frankie pretend to drink the wrong thing, and keep throwing up, act as if your life is in danger. The last few people managed to escape. The next thing was Lychee calling the police. And then the psychologist came to the house to investigate. It seemed that Martin had done everything. But when the police took Martin into custody and Martin denied it. And said he didn't do any of that. And the police also found that what Lychee said was not true. He said several people had come out, but beyond inspiration, the other 3 were all false motivators, so what is the truth? Martin also said, you've all been fooled by the Lychee's surface, don't say oneself pure is really pure. They want to get ahead at their school. Bad enough, to put it bluntly. It seems that private schools are sometimes not so good after all. Officials and Frankie were good friends. Of course, some things Lychee says are true, that Mike did break up. And Aspire was really interested in Mike. So let Martin Bama finally buy Lychee with a few people to hide in this degree. We're gonna party for a few days. Of course, neither the police nor the psychologists knew that these were inspirational memories. It's just that both boys prefer their best friends, or because she's pretty. In good shape, there's no way out. I aspire to be a little angry. This is not the most exaggerated insight. Occupy an FO lang machine point ambiguous. Although Mike was a little annoyed. Watching 2 sweet people, Mike was so angry that he could only sleep, regardless of the motivational hookup, although Mike was ready to leave the next day, but the outside door wouldn't open. In fact, from our perspective, everything is inspirational. Is he as big as he is? Trying to force a few people to stay here. What if I can't get out now? Several people were worried. If you go out and play, being found out by your family is bound to cause serious problems. Although the 3 men tried their best, but still can't get out of violation to reality, because there was no proof, so it was eventually released. But he found the will to ask her why she framed him. The 2 men grappled with each other near the river. When the psychologist arrived, he knew Martin had been there when he saw Lychee's lying on the bed. But psychologists have apparently also found that the truth is not as simple as Lychee says. If the bridge helped him himself, then tell him the truth. Lychee said, if I had to tell the truth, take me to the hole, then I want to see what's going on. Actually, I want to say what happened. Don't you have any points in your mind? Also in this cave, the door which said the mouth of the cave was in his hand. It's about to trap a few people here. Mike, to be exact, but there is a limit to how much food and water you can carry. It won't take long to finish. The hand also wonders why, as a former army school student, knowing how to distribute food and water, and to warn you, if dehydration is severe, you get dizziness. Thirsty, the focus will be blurred, difficult to speak, dry skin, or even death. But the food and water were obviously not enough. I don't know if I don't see hope. Mike even made decisions he wouldn't normally make, is ready to count money, and Lychee happened to something. I was finally stopped by something I had to do, because the waves don't seem to be right, has been to vomit, apparently stuck here for a long time, eating spoiled food and water, slightly less fit, can't carry this Lychee. I don't give a shit about this friend who thinks I'm finally getting closer to Mike. I feel like we can go out tomorrow. Because Lychee is going to let everyone out tomorrow. At night Lychee finally got Mike. He was going to open the door while everyone was asleep, but all of a sudden they were gone. The body of Polish Street was eventually found in a toilet. Apparently he never made it to the end of the day. Seeing his companion dead, neither Mike nor the interview was acceptable, especially when there is no equipment room. The bedroom itself loved Frankie. He felt that it was all a matter of inspiration, but what's the use of blaming anyone now? The medical examiner also found the cause of the crime, because of bleeding in the esophagus, because he was depressed. He died of heart failure on the 10th day. So the rest get up. He was also detained for 8 days. After all that time and the dehydration, there was nothing wrong with it. And because Mike hit him in the head for stealing the last soda, he died. The original Leachy is ready to die here with the person you like. Because he knew that if he went out, a lot of things are unclear. But Mike didn't give up. It could be that I love you, get the Leachys ready to let Mike out. Both of them. But when Mike found out that Leachys had been, how could he accept that? He killed his best friend, but profits had already climbed. Mike is too excited to sway on the approval, and finally, because the latter had fallen into disrepair, he fell to his death. The psychiatrist who knew all this was going to call the police, but he underestimated the horror of the girl in front of him. He framed Martin because Martin was already dead. He had a key on the body by the river. Now the key explains to someone else, this girl killed these. Do you think people can be trusted? Then in the Leachy evil smile in the end to see the film, I mean, it's scary to be liked by girls. After all, some love is a little deformed, you love and hurt. That's not a good thing. True happiness comes from correct values and relationships, instead of buying and selling. That's all for today's recommendation. See you next time.